All right, well, something's going on. They call it Merger Monday for a reason. Dollar Tree buying up rival Family Dollar, Zillow looking to scoop up rival Trulia, both adding to what has been one of the busiest merger and acquisition years we've seen since 2007. Richard Scrushy says at a time when the government is making it harder for businesses to grow, no wonder businesses are combining so they can grow. He's the author of Building a $1 Billion Business. And Richard, I was thinking of you in reading the book and wondering, a lot easier to combine to get that girth than it is coming out on your own doing so. So what do you think of this latest trend and whether it keeps up?
Well, you know, Neil, I like the concept of rolling up businesses within your industry, and I think a lot of times 2 and 2 does make 5. There's certainly a lot of synergies between these two companies, and I can understand how they can create efficiencies by merging various departments. They can pull together from a branding standpoint. They can use the marketing of these two companies together to make sense. The thing that I also know is that CEOs get tired. And over a period of time, if there's an opportunity, your exit strategy is limited. It really is. And when you have another company that's big enough that you can merge with, that gives the board and the CEO and the senior management an opportunity to move on to other things and be able to place those shareholders safely into another company, it makes sense. It really does.
Well, you know, Richard, I talked to a lot of CEOs very successful, like you were at HealthSouth, and then you were dragged into all these legal battles back and forth. But they say that they couldn't repeat that in this economic environment today. Ken Langone at Home Depot said it would have been very hard, Bernie Marcus as well as partner, to create that same phenomenon in this environment than when they were doing it in the I think the late 70s. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's true. I think we're in a totally different time. Of course, the government is in a different place. There was a whole shock and awe tactics that were used on companies back in those days. The pressure when the Sarbanes-Oxley just came out, a lot of new regulations, and I think it's more difficult. It gets more and more difficult. I don't think it's going to get easier. I mean, you know, when we have Washington, we're full of regulators. We have a tremendous number of bureaucrats. I think companies are being squeezed more and more in the regulatory area, and it's not just one area. It's the whole tax situation. It's from OSHA, from you name it. Now we have the Affordable Health Care Act. We have HIPAA. We have all of these different regulations that are strangling companies, and quite frankly, sometimes the CEOs just say, hey, I've had enough. You know, I'll merge with another company. We'll get a premium for our shareholders, and we'll move on. And
well, what do you think of the companies that try to use the existing tax rules and laws and little secrets of the tax code, like the so-called inversion rule, that allows them to buy a smaller player abroad to take advantage of that country's domicile taxes? The president holding them out as an unpatriotic example. What did you think of that?
Well, I think 2 things. Number one, from a political standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for those that are running for office and the politicos to come out and say, hey, this is bad. This is not something we want. They need to be paying their fair share of taxes, yada, yada, yada. But from a shareholder standpoint, the shareholders are looking for increased profitability. They're looking for increased earnings. They're looking for any way that that company can increase the return to its shareholders. So, you know, you got a real tug of war there. You've got the political aspect, but you also have the shareholders. And I know personally that shareholders put tremendous amount of pressure on the board of directors of a company and the senior management to continue to grow those earnings. And look, if you can add, you know, another 10% to the bottom line, then that's why they're looking for alternatives. And buying a company in another country, moving those offices might make a lot of sense. And I do believe that we do have to do something with our tax code to create an incentive to keep these companies at home and to continue to hire people here. There's something wrong. And I think you'd have to be blind not to see that when companies are doing that, there's a reason for it. They're not doing it because they want to. They're doing it because they feel like they have to. So we've got to make some changes in Washington. We need some laws that change the tax code, create incentives to keep these companies here, and to help those companies continue to hire Americans and put them to work.
Real quickly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the kind of punishment that you got with the government chasing you. And now a lot of companies, banks, institutions just paying multi-billion-dollar fines. What do you think?
Well, hey, I think it makes a lot more sense. I mean, if you can keep the company intact, continue to grow the companies continue to pay taxes. You know, we see the billion-dollar settlements, multi-billion-dollar settlements. Certainly that helps the checkbook at the, you know, the government's checkbook and increases, you know, their situation in terms of being able to pay bills. So it doesn't make sense to gouge the companies, shut the companies down, shock and awe, destroy the companies, spend millions and millions of dollars chasing leadership. I think penalties,
do you wish in
fines, and these
retrospect
types
they
of
had
things
done that with you? Then all the hell
well,
you
they
went
should
through?
have done it. Well, let's just think about it. From a financial standpoint, it would have helped a lot of people. There would have been a lot of people that would have been employed. There would have been a continued expansion of a great company. And, we live in an entrepreneurial country. I wrote about this in my book. I'm into mergers and acquisitions. I believe you can grow up companies, build companies, do great things in this country. I know there's a whole host of new entrepreneurs that are coming along. My book, again, is all about motivating and inspiring young people to go out and build companies in America, because that can still be done. But, yes, the government needs to back off. The government needs to let these companies breathe. They need to create incentives to create jobs. And they will pay taxes long term. If they stay here, the taxes are going to be greater. So, we've got to take a look at the entrepreneurs in this country and do what's best for them. And obviously, they create the jobs. Where do the jobs come from? Entrepreneurs. It's the only place they come from.
Richard Scrushy, great book, Building a Billion-Dollar Business. He's the author, of course, the former HealthSouth CEO. He knows from those experiences of what he speaks.